Pellegrino. Ratatouille. It's my mom's recipe, which was her mom's recipe, and there it is. Okay. The basic ingredients are, this is optional, thyme, and I switched it out for oregano. So you can have either or, thyme or oregano. Garlic, onions, eggplant, green peppers, salt, tomatoes, tomato paste. Now the optional ingredients, which I put all in, are zucchinis. You got the green peppers, red pepper, orange peppers, yellow peppers, mushrooms, olives. You can put all those in. But the basic ingredients are going to be the garlic, the oregano or thyme, onions, eggplant, green peppers, tomatoes, salt and pepper. That's it. Now we'll get chopping. Through the magic of bunny vision, I've chopped up 3 onions, got the eggplant, and then our peppers, our zucchini, and all the rest of it. So I'll show you what I did with the eggplant. Some people say take the skins off because it makes it bitter. I've never found that problem. So the eggplant's just cut in quarters, and you want to give it at least 1-inch cuts because it's one of the main ingredients, and it's nice and meaty in this dish, and it's going to cook down, and it's going to retain some of its texture, and it's going to be lovely. So eggplant like that, zucchini right here, zucchini, 1/2-inch cuts. We've got green pepper, red pepper, yellow pepper. All I've done is cut it from stem to stern, and in 1/4-inch cuts. The onion, cut in half. The end is taken off, the skin taken off, and then cut into half rings, maybe 1/4 inch. Then we got our spices. There's my oregano, my garlic, salt and pepper, and our mushrooms. If they're nice little guys like that, I'm going to leave them whole. Anything bigger than that, I'm going to cut in half or quarters or thirds to make it nice and beefy. So now we're going to get the pot going. Olive oil, coat the bottom. I'm doing doubling the batch, so maybe 3 tablespoons of olive oil. We're going to let that heat up, and then we're going to start adding the veggies. I'm going to start with the onions. 5-6 cloves of garlic, because I'm doing a huge batch here. So the garlic and the onions get in there and they get soft. And once the onions start to soften up a little bit, you don't want them completely translucent, but just soft, then I'll put in the rest of the veggies. Probably starting with the peppers, because they're going to take a little longer to cook. Then the eggplant, and then the zucchini. You can see the onions are starting to be nice and glossed over. And I'm going to add the rest of the peppers. Doesn't have to be perfect. If I get some of the other ones in there, it doesn't matter. So there's the green pepper, the yellow peppers, the red peppers. And it's all going to melt together. Alright, so you can see from the original recipe, which was just the eggplant, the onions, tomatoes, and green peppers, I've added everything else. Why? Because it's fucking good. So, now we got the rest of the eggplant, which is the main meat in this dish. It's lovely. Like I said, you can take some of the skin off if you want, but I've never noticed it being bitter. It's just lovely. So I got all the eggplant in there. On top of that, I'm going to push all of the zucchini. And that's all going to simmer down. And now it's time to chop the mushrooms. If they're little, I'm going to leave them where they are. This big, I'm going to cut them in half. The mushrooms in this dish, You don't want to, I personally don't like too small. You could cut them up and then they get kind of watery and limp. When you leave them like this, they're just nice. Not too hard. Over here is the oregano. You can use dry. If I buy fresh oregano at the store, like in the little packets, I just use what I want and then I throw it in the freezer. And it's much nicer than the dried stuff. So you can keep that in the freezer and use it whenever you want. Same with thyme. And like I said earlier with basil, if you're growing some in the summer because it's so easy to grow, just whiz it all up at the end of the summer, and with a little bit of olive oil, squish it flat in the freezer bag and use it whenever you want. Earlier this afternoon I was making some ossobuco for my mom and my stepdad, and I didn't have basil, so I went in the freezer, cracked off a little bit, and there you go. They got ossobuco and ratatouille tomorrow. So, cut up. That's going on top of everything else. Pretty simple. All right, just going to dump the mushrooms in on top. Might as well throw the oregano in there as well. Just going to give it a stir. You can see all the mushrooms and everything on the bottom are starting to melt up nicely. And now I'm going to add tomatoes. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Tomatoes. So I've got 2 cans. I bought 3 cans. And since I've almost doubled this recipe, I might need the 3 cans. So 1, 2. You know what? We're going with 3. Open. Dump that little fucker in there. Tomato paste. And now that that's all in there, the only thing left to do is let it simmer for at least, bring it to a burble. That's a technical term, burble. Bring it to a burble. And once it's burbling, lower it down so it goes bloop, bloop, bloop. And it doesn't look like there's a lot of moisture, but the eggplant, tomatoes, the zucchini, everything, and the mushrooms are gonna melt down and add its own liquid. So if you think it's looking a little dry, don't worry about it, because it's going to be very nice. I'm going to let that sit. I'm going to come back in about an hour or so, and we're going to have a check on it. Right now the temperature is medium low. I'm going to turn it to medium because it's a big ass pot. You can see and hear the burbles. Just gonna put the initial little bit of pepper in, and a little bit of salt, because everybody's saying in my 4 comments that I've had, people are saying how much salt, how much pepper, what's the recipe? Well, I don't really cook like that. I have recipes and then I just add and subtract from them. Tomatoes are going to have some salt in it, but none of the other vegetables are, so you'll have to correct it along the way to your taste. How much salt, how much garlic? Well, it's up to you and your taste. Do what you like. Enjoy it. I would like it a little bit thicker, and since I did a little bit more than double the recipe, I'm putting in another tin of tomato paste. And I tasted it. I'm going to do a little bit more salt and pepper, and in the recipe it calls for some brown sugar. I tasted it. It does need it. So usually a tablespoon of brown sugar, but since, like I said, I've more than doubled this recipe, I'm going to do, that's probably 3 tablespoons. It needs maybe another 20 minutes to simmer, and it's ready. Since it is already 9:45 in the evening, I am putting this outside because it's minus whatever tonight. And ratatouille and things like this are always good, especially with tomato sauce. Once they sit, really fantastic when they're ready, but even better when they've sit for a little bit. Another thing, in the summertime, if you're making this with fresh veggies, It is very, very good cold and served as a base of a salad with some boiled eggs or lettuce and everything on top of it, and that would be your base for your salad. So you can eat it hot, you can eat it cold, and it's really good. Oh, and the meatballs go really nice with it too.